they say. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore.
All right, we're on. We're back. We're reading. We're back with Book Pod.
We're back with Book Pod. And we did something very light this time.
Yeah, it's been over a year. Let me. I don't even know. I should have opened this before. I can't even find it now. But yeah, it's definitely been over a year of podcasts. Do you know how many?
Really?
Yeah. Do you know how many?
I think we've done 13, 14 books.
30, 40. That sounds. That's
about right. And I have a list somewhere also, but I can't put my hands on it at the moment. Yes, I can. Hold on a minute. Yes, I have it right here. 13, 14, 15. This is actually the 16th book we've done.
Wow. Yep. So congratulations to us.
Yeah. Man, gosh. I don't have the dates on here, but wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment. I think that's really good. We should be very proud of ourselves.
Yeah.
Pat, pat, pat on my back.
Keep on something and just, stop complaining. Just
Stop complaining is not going to happen. And every goddamn month I'm trying to deal with this computer and it's given me hives.
Oh my God. Oh, so this book was, what was it? Romaine Can't Be
Okay, so
Built
this
in
book
a Day?
is Romaine Wasn't Built in a Day, The Delightful History of Food Language by Judith Tschann, I guess, Tschann. And it's just a book of food-related words and phrases. It's a trivia book about food-related words and phrases. So it's just light. After the Talmud and before Charles Dickens, we needed something light.
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the word trivial. And yeah, if anything, that is exactly it. And we're all in a digital age, speaking digitally, reading digitally, watching digitally. And this is this book was written and printed about words which are being forgotten and eliminated at maybe at a faster rate ever. And so I was like kind of wondering, like, is this meta? And you hear that word a lot, meta, because it's a book about words that, and wait, hold on. So a writer wants you to read, and wait, hold on. Wait, what is even going on?
Collect your words there, Joe.
A book is full of words.
Yes.
And people hate that. They're like, this sucks. Why would I waste my time doing this? And then a writer's like, okay, hold on. Okay, this is words. This is literally words, not a story, not a character. Not going anywhere. There's no time. There's just here's a bunch of words. And maybe a person's like, okay, that sounds pretty simple. It's like, yeah, and you know what? It's about something everybody likes, food. I'm like, oh, I like that. And so I was like, yeah, stuck in this loop of the writer wants to make a book, wants to sell a book, and people don't like reading, especially now, and they don't like, buying books or anything. So that's a kind of a uphill battle nowadays, probably. So let's make this topic as comprehensible as possible. Am I making any sense?
So I think you're approaching sense, but so I'm going to defend this book because, first of all, I love etymology. I love the history of words and how we came to refer to things the way we refer to them. How does the word usage develop? And that's what this is. And all food related, something we do all love, something we have in common. This is a book that is, well, I shouldn't say that, but eminently put downable, right? I mean, you don't have to remember the details of the story. There's no narrative structure that you have to pay attention to, although there is a method of organization. She does have a table of contents, and she starts with an introduction that sort of gives the lay of the land, goes on to breakfast, mid-morning Java break, which has a lot of coffee stuff, lunch, happy hour, one of my favorites, dinner, and nightcaps. And then there's a lot of appendix and other stuff to sort of flesh it out a little bit. It is light. Absolutely, it's light. But I found some things that were kind of interesting, and I think we can talk about them. First of all, did you notice that the cover depicts the Colosseum in lettuce?
Yes, I did.
Doesn't that spark your curiosity a little bit? Not really, eh? Okay, you're not a fan. I get it.
No,
That's fine.
I'm not trying to hate on it or anything, because I see the meta goal, if that's, I'm going to throw that word meta around. And meta means when a thing is of a thing or something. What is it?
Meta is when you take the sort of overview, or so metacognitive, for instance, which is the one term that I know it's used a lot. It is looking at, cognitive means knowing. Metacognitive means looking at how we know. So in that case, and your meta example maybe doesn't quite fit, but I understand what you're trying to say. It's kind of a distant view of all this food related words, and, you know, what, not necessarily what they have in common, but just nitpicking or picking, or not cherry picking what's interesting about the development of the usage of some of the words. So go ahead. If you want to talk about meta, dig your hole. Go ahead.
According to the internet, meta is from the Greek word, is a prefix meaning more comprehensive or transcending.
Yeah, so it's not it doesn't fit meta because this is so detailed. Well, is
here we go. In modern nomenclature, which nomen,
which just means terminology name. Mm-hmm.
Clature means don't worry about that. And it is a prefix that means self-referential. So yeah, it is when a thing is like about itself or something.
Right.
which sounds lofty. I guess that's why Facebook is called Meta. It's like, yeah, you can come to us to watch yourself.
Mm-hmm,
it's like we help you look at and know yourself. So join. And you're like, well, if I'm already myself, why would I need you? But anyway.
Yeah, because we all need social media. That's why, yeah.
The book's goal is to get you to read it and probably take away a good feeling so that you talk about it and remember it and speak about it to your friend and have a good
podcast
result with it. Similar to I think in the old books we talked about DNA and humans spreading. Their goal is to spread and multiply itself or whatever. So the writer's like, okay, everybody, this is a book. I know, sounds terrible, right? But this one is literally as simple as it can get. It's just a bunch of words that you can. And yeah, what people are like, oh, books, I hate that. That's for smart people. I don't even know. I don't like to read. I was bad in school. No. You can read this and you can become like instantly smart-ish sounding.
So it's like the Sudoku of word books. There's numbers, but no math involved.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a good one. If you want to if you have number phobia, this is like, try this, because the numbers might as well be like symbols of, you can't repeat the symbol.
That's right.
Yeah, that's funny. This is reading, but it's literally just, I'm defining. It's like a step up from like reading the dictionary.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's a more focused reading of a particular dictionary, food related words. Absolutely. It's a research book. It's not meant to be, research in the broadest sense, but it's like a dictionary. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
That's why I was appreciative of the Talmud book, which again, the Complete Idiot's Guide to the Talmud, which tried to structure and separate and, use the margins and have fun, like, hey, did you know? Or
like a textbook. Yeah.
Let's get Talmudic to break up the rhythm and monotonous tone, which people hate. People don't like that. So that, you read that, you might, like that style or structure could turn people off, like, oh, this looks like school, I hate this. But this writer has a different strategy and presentation, like, okay, well, this is a book with chapters. That means reading, and it's got a hardcover, and it costs money, it's new, it's not an old book. So you can get this thing and you can consume it and put it down as you like. There's no characters, there's no story. You don't have to remember anything.
Nope.
And once you finished it, you will have read a book that you can tell people. You read like George on Seinfeld when he says, like, oh, I left some books at my ex-girlfriend's house. I don't want to get it. It's like, what
Mm-hmm.
books? And he's like, I read. And so
this is the small talk. It's not the in-depth, bearing our souls and understanding each other conversation. This is small talk, and this is superficial. Absolutely. I admit it. It's great. But a lot of our lives is superficial.
Yeah.
And I wanted something light after wading through the Talmud. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm grasping for,
I don't know what you're. Yeah,
is that
keep trying.
The Talmud is maybe the oldest book in human history and is so mystical and confounding for every generation ever. But here is the book that we read was structured like, no, like even you can kind of take something away. Like the introduction was like, don't worry about it if this makes no sense. We all don't. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay,
Right.
okay.
Right.
As long as, so I'm like, I'm dumb, but everyone else is dumb too, so it's okay.
And it has no pretense. There's no pretenses going on here.
Wait. So this book is like the opposite, where like here's something that's so current,
light,
that you literally just talked about this. Like you're literally eating a cookie right now. And I'm gonna present it in the pleasing way that people desire. Like I want to be a book reader and talker abouter of things when I speak to humans. Did you know that the champagne is from Champagne, France, and that you're holding that glass wrong? And it's so it's the total like mirror inverse of the Talmud book.
Yes. And it doesn't pretend to word of God. It doesn't display anything that is mysterious. It's just tidbits of knowledge about something that all of us consume every day.
Yeah. I want to talk about another thing too. In the middle of a while ago, I picked up
in the middle of a while ago.
Yeah,
wordsmith, wordsmith.
In the middle of before. In the midst of yestertime, there was I picked up this book that someone on Reddit said was good. It's called Sapiens. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I haven't.
So it's on fire. It's popular pop history. It's kind of a rival to the Jared Diamond.
Okay.
And so you're reading it. It's about humans. They migrated. They traveled. It's a history of humanity.
Okay.
And so, humans walked around. They lived in tribes. They would, communicate. They would argue. But then the guy starts going into how, like, don't you see how back then we were hunting and gathering? We were eating different foods. We were more healthy. And today, farming really trapped us into singular diets, and we're all like less happy.
Mm.
And I was like, it was like a hard. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? This guy goes suddenly into the psychology of 11,000 years ago, early human, and it's like, oh, this is another case of dumb people or people want to. Yeah, I'm thinking this thing. I just need a book. I need someone smart to tell me that it's right. What I think is probably right because I'm that way. And it just totally hit me like, oh my god, this is like the Joe Rogan and people like humans. It's in our DNA. We're supposed to fight each other.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. Or back in the day when we were hunters and gatherers and lived to the ripe old age of 20, right?
Yeah.
That's we were so much better off.
Genetically, women do enjoy the look of biceps. A guy with bigger shoulders will attract more blah blah. It's just, I mean, look at 100,000 years ago. That's how it was, and it's like, oh my god. So anyway, I stopped that book after like chapter 2 when it said how farming was a huge mistake, and so anyway, yeah, the whole the Talmud, that book, and this book kind of piqued my interest in the marketing and kind of spreading like DNA of the contents of a book in hopes of selling more and promoting the brand of the writer. But yeah, that book was like, oh my god, this book is like not good for modern human culture.
You mean like misinformation?
Like that word narrative, like, oh well, this is the narrative he wants, or that word is thrown around so much, and you want, if something is too complicated, they want it to be black and white. You can point to the inarguable, well, look, 100,000 years ago, that's what our DNA made us do. So because we're so away from that, that's why we have so much conflict. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, which is totally theoretical anyway. Yeah, it's a slight step away from, well, look, Christians 500 years ago, this was their life. The women did this, the men spent all day this, and that's why we did that so long. And now in the last 20 years, we don't do that. So look, and now everything's horrible. Yeah, and everything's horrible. Like, I think people are like, okay, well, that's dumb. We need something more substantial, something more epic. Oh, well, like hunting and gathering and wrestling, and that's you can't, that's for millions of years. Oh, okay, that's what I want. But anyway, this book made me think about that, how the goal of writer and writing is to spread, similar to a coronavirus. No, I don't know. But well, I think sometimes it is, but I think sometimes it is, especially if somebody has an agenda. But if somebody, especially a kind of self-help book like that one that you picked up with Sapiens, is sort of, I'm going to give you all the answers to what's wrong. But this book is just a bit of fluff. It doesn't have, and I keep using that word pretense, but it has no pretenses about it. She doesn't have the answer. She just kind of is toying with this idea, and it's entertaining. It's amusing. It doesn't have to be anything heavy or spiritual or mystical or answering the problems of what's wrong with us today. Right. And so I think books are written for different reasons. This one is just some light reading that's entertaining. It's sort of like a sitcom on TV. It's not something that is not a documentary. So we've got these different genres of writing and other media, and we just turn to something light that we can read. And it's like a bathroom book. You put it in the bathroom and leave it there, and then you read it in installments as needed. That's it. Yeah. But so now that I've said this writer is just fluff, they just want to sell some books, who cares? Just pick it up, you get at the airport, you pay double the price, and that goes to who cares? But now I'll say, no, come on, this person, they have some kind of more significant goal. And I think that, yeah, again, most people, they don't want to read. I didn't want to read. I thought this is a nightmare in school. Like, what's the easy way of this? What's the shortcut? And I think that, yeah, the writers like this are trying to show how, like, you know, you too can know something. Like, you can you know, be surprised. You'd be surprised how much of everything now is because of something before. And that's, you know, that's history. That's the point of history. Like, it's not, you know, everything is just the result of something before. And it reminded me of also that, have you ever read Malcolm Gladwell?
Gladwell. I don't think I've read him, but have I listened to his podcast maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
He wrote, you know,
that's all just kind of off the wall, interesting stuff. That's not, as he has more of a social agenda, I think, than this book, but it's, you know, it's certainly eclectic. It's not anything that he's not. So this is the antithesis of the monarch of maladies, right? That Dr. Siddhartha goes in depth, deep in his subject. This is different, and Malcolm Gladwell is different also. He's more of an essayist on a variety of topics of social interest. That's all.
Well, but Gladwell is so famous because, yeah, he kind of
he wrote The Tipping Point, right? And something else.
Yeah, Tipping Point, and like I don't know.
I forget. There was another one that was that made a bit of a splash. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even that memorable, but yeah, if smart, you know, readers, smart people, and people who just, you know, had a horrible school experience, or they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I hate that. Traumatized by reading. Gladwell added a stepping stone to that traumatized side, saying, no, you can take one little step in this way. So he would take super obscure decision makers of like, you know, irrelevant times in history and just draw kind of a light line to, and that's why everyone wears these types of shoes today, because this one guy saw I know a good one. He said how, like, IKEA.
It's about hush puppies, okay.
Yeah. Everyone knows IKEA, and so, but you know, you think, oh, they're a huge company, like Scandinavian, they're rich. Yep, they do everything right. They do everything right. But actually, the guy who started IKEA was a regular dude making furniture, and he thought we should make our furniture where it's cheap, which is, I don't know, like somewhere like newly liberated Lithuania or something like that was under Soviet control, and now is like a pretty much of, I don't even know. And everyone's like, are you out of your mind? It's like, there's no law there. They're just like an emerging country. It's like, no, I think we can do it. And so that guy took like an enormous gamble, as though North Korea had just gained freedom, has no government, no civil support or services. So no, let's just put a factory right there. It's so close. And they all thought he was out of his mind. So it's like, that's the kind of thing where it's not just a big company exists and you shop there. It's like someone took a bold action that could have been a disaster that everyone forgot. But this one just worked out. And that's the kind of chin scratching. Oh, really? Oh, well, if that guy was a regular guy, I guess I could do something too. And that's what Gladwell tries to show. Yeah, you too. You're a regular guy right now, a regular person. So if you just keep wanting to know stuff, you could do something great as well.
Sure. So, and if you get together with your friends and you play the guitars and the drums, you could be the Beatles. And if you get in together with your best friend in the garage, you can make Apple. You can make Apple Computer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that people like that, but there's still in most people's minds like, oh, but the Beatles they're talented. Or Steve Jobs, he was a genius. I mean, it's interesting to know what happened. Yeah, Tarantino dropped out of middle school. worked at a video store and he made the best movies. I mean, he was like a genius. But Gladwell's like, well, here's something like McDonald's. I mean, that was just two regular dudes who figured out how do we make factory assembly line style food in a store. People order it and it comes out instantly. And so that's just two regular people. And then they retired. They sold it to another person.
They sold it and retired. Yeah.
And so that's kind of the good work where showing someone like, yeah, you can be smart. You can have it doesn't have to be a traumatizing nightmare to learn something that you're not even sure you care about. But with this minimal effort, you can get some value out of it by talking to your friends or meeting someone interesting. So you could even say this writer's like, if you have trouble on like dates and you have nothing to talk about, you could just study this book and you could seem real smart to a person if you're self-conscious about sounding dumb or something. So maybe that could be a underlying goal of this writer.
Yeah, maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. And I'm shocked by how traumatizing you find reading to be.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
Why are you doing a book podcast?
Well, the thing that changed was when I started taking notes on like everything on books, because you take notes for out of a textbook and you hope that the ones you write down will be on the test, but it's just a random guessing game. I don't know, is this important? This is a
It's not. It shouldn't be if the teacher knows how to ask questions about not trivial things, but about main ideas. And if you learn how to understand, read, and write the structure that we use in Western society for, conveying ideas to people through books, it shouldn't be random. If it is random, the teacher's off course.
But a kid's mind listens to a teacher talking. It says, okay, well, this is important because I'm here. But we also have this huge textbook that we don't even really use in the class. I'm told to do stuff with it at home. I'm talking about like elementary school, like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, or even like high school. You get these enormous books and like, okay, your homework is, if you had a more lazy teacher, like, okay, your homework is chapter 1, the questions at the end. So then you go into the book, you find like where did they go? And you turn the page, okay, that's where they went. You write that down. And then, but often the test would be made by the teacher, would be unrelated from the book. So then you just you go by your memory of like, okay, what did she say? Or, so it was always like a mismatch of where does the book, reading the book, like,
how does it fit in?
Why would I spend all this time reading this? And I don't really even know how to read. I don't know, like you got those side boxes, like, did you know? Or like, let's get Native American, let's get Iroquois. This is a dream catcher. And I'm like, is this on the test? Why do I have to know this? And the little captions under the pictures, like, could that be in it? I don't, probably not. So that's not bank worthy. So, but then in the last, fast forward to I'm 30, in my late 30s, it's like, if you just take notes on everything, then you can remember and capture more things and develop your own prioritizing skills or something. And so, I'm not even talking about writing with a pen. That's also a nightmare because it's like I can't even read my own writing. But when I started typing notes and reading on the computer, it's like, oh, this is going really fast, and I can go back to it and read it and delete stuff that I realized, oh, that's not important. And then even screenshot blocks of text, like, oh, this is this part, and use my computer's highlighter to say, that all goes into one document. And so that's like, if I was, high school or elementary school teacher, like, you should all do this. You have, this is
Or
just,
this is a topic for study skills. This is how to decipher a text, to look at that, deconstruct a paragraph and see that first sentence is the topic sentence. It's got the thesis and the controlling idea. And then the middle of the paragraph is all details supporting that. And then the final sentence in the paragraph is the, commentary that comes, or what wraps everything together and ties it in a nice bow. That, if you understand the structure, and maybe this is because I taught writing, and but this is something that should be taught to everybody. What's the structure of the writing, so that students can decipher a text and take notes in only the important parts, the topic sentences. You don't need all the details to remember what the author's point was. And then they can produce that in their own writing. Then all of their writing is ordered in the same way. That's writing and reading.
yeah.
So you never learned that.
Well, it's so cross. It's too overwhelming for, like, okay, this teacher English has this book, and she is saying the homework is the questions in the back, but she's going to make her own test. So that's a mismatch there. Then you get your next teacher, and then that teacher might not use the book at all, and every homework is original, and it reflects what we just talked about. Oh, this is a good teacher. It's like, now I'm capturing the information, it's being reinforced in the homework, then the test is the homework again. Oh, this is great. I feel smart. I'm learning.
Yeah, right. That's how it should be.
Well, then why do we have the book? What? Then it's like, well, the book is totally unnecessary. We don't even use it. And so,
or the book and the lecture complement each other. It should be, reading is the way that the education system in the United States conveys knowledge. Students have to read. And then the way that they cement the knowledge is by note taking and then discussion with each other, and then taking tests just to make sure that cementation is done. But it should all be complementary. But of course, ideally, that's the goal. The synthesis, and you're right, all these different classes that you're taking, and it is fragmented and segmented too much, maybe, so that there's no synthesis until you get older, and then you start thinking about, well, why do I have to learn about Jane Austen, and what did the Napoleonic Wars have to do with that, and what trivia do I know about soldiers' uniforms in that day, and then what was going on in the United States at the same time? Yeah, that it is all overwhelming. That's why, that is all overwhelming. But still, that's why the narrative, looking at the narrative of novels or history, English texts or history texts, should sort of line up with each other if possible. Anyway, I'm getting into boggy ground here, and I'm not sure where we're going with this.
Yeah, it's totally mysterious. I think the only way that a kid, if you have 30 kids and they all have a seed planted of, like, the book is good, don't throw away the book, is that if the teacher every day is like, okay, so then we did chapter 2. Okay, so the writer says, like, oh, what? Wow, so the Pony Express actually brought the letters? Like, okay, wait, so that's saying, like, from Los Angeles to California, a guy on a horse would bring the letters. So it's almost like the teacher is also a student of the book, and is being impressed by, like, wow, I didn't know that either. Did you read that? Oh, what's going to happen tomorrow? And so we're all working through it. But I had teachers in high school that would say, like, okay, here's the textbook, it's huge. We are not going to do chapter 6, 7, 8. And then they would mix up their own. Chapter 1 is good. We're going to do that. I'm going to do chapter 24 now, and it's my own thing. So you're just like, okay, what's carrying around this huge text? And because the teacher knows, like, yeah, the book is not enough. It's too boring. I'm a human. I can make it more interesting. I was interested by a dynamic teacher, so I'm going to try to do that for you. And so it's a total shitstorm of like
Yeah,
of like
it sounds
why?
like it.
Why?
Good Lord.
Yeah, and I went to elite schools.
And you went to good schools, supposedly. Yeah. That's a problem.
But so I teach English here. I don't use a textbook at all. It's all completely original. Like they all give me the English and I check it. I tell them what I think. And so yeah, I tell them, yeah, nobody knows. I don't have any training in teaching. I have no training. I only just from doing it. And they go, oh, really? Oh, really? Yeah. Nobody knows. Language
But
is
that's
old.
not true. Don't tell them that. That's not true.
I do tell them that.
I know.
You
Ask me.
You just got mired in boggy,
You're right. I did because because I'm upset because you're saying that, the nightmare of having to read, the trauma of having to read in school that you're just recovering from at nearly 40. Great. Awesome.
Yeah, because they don't know. Nobody knows. There's PhDs who have no idea how to do it. And what's also funny is that the teaching English or language is older than like anything else. Like older than cooking, older than hunting. If humans were just gathering around, go over there. There's berries over there, or watch out for there. Like, so how do we teach each other how to be careful? And we still have no idea how to properly. I tell my students, I'm like, yeah, if you want to get good at the best way to listening is the hardest thing. How do you listen and understand? So, well, the best way is to live with someone or two people for 18 years, and then just do whatever they say.
Shut up and listen.
And as you get better, they will gradually make it more difficult. And then after 18 years, you will be a beginner.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I said, and also,
because first of all, listening is the easiest. Listening not the hardest thing. Speaking is the hardest thing.
No, they can speak. Speaking is you have to memorize. You can say stuff, but
that's not speaking. That's just relay. That's just recording what you memorized. So can you make a phone call in Japanese, Joe?
Yeah, usually. But in Japanese, the formality side which they use, I have to break down. I have to convey like, yeah, I don't know the formal style, so just speak like a normal person. And they go, oh, okay, so and then they change. But
surely you know that listening comes first. Hearing and comprehending comes first. I think that's the easiest. And speaking comes last because it has to be spontaneous and you have a pressure on you. Reading, you have time to decipher on yourself, on your own time. And writing, the same goes. You can sort of concentrate on it. And you're not demanding to be spontaneous instantly. So I find speaking the hardest thing, and the skills that comes last.
I tell them that, yeah, reading and writing, you have the most control. It's private. You have your own speed. You can choose the topic, and you can stop if you want and not feel bad. And then speaking is you have less control. You control what you say, but it's harder to bail, to get out of it. You have to run away, so you're committed. But listening, you have no control. It's just whatever they want to say, you have one chance to get it.
Well, that's true. I don't disagree with anything you say. However, on the street, can you understand directions, or what's the difference in your ability in Japanese to understand directions people give you rather than give directions somebody gives you? Somebody that you have to give someone, I should say. Which would be harder? Don't you think you could understand directions more easily than try to give directions?
No, I could do both of those, I think, if I knew where it was.
If you knew where it was.
I think that's a thing that, yeah, listening to them is not just, the dialogues of like, how much for this coffee? That's $3. Thank you. Goodbye. Or that's all within a typical course with limited options. But they want to they want is like chat. I want to survive a conversation with a random person.
And no matter what you're right about. I never thought of it that way. And you're right about that idea that you have one chance to get what they say, except that you could ask somebody to repeat. I guess that reading, I think maybe that's the easiest because you, as you point out, you do have control and you have time on your side. And writing, next step. Listening is hard. But boy, I think producing is the hardest because I don't know, maybe it's me, but I didn't want to make a mistake. That was a factor in holding me back from trying to produce, as opposed to listening and just nodding.
I think that speaking too, you can bail. Say, sorry, I don't know, and you have control over like I'm apologizing. I'm diffusing, so I'll feel embarrassed later, but I won't feel bad. But listening though, if you can't, in Japan, you can't bail like I don't know and run away. That would be rude. That's rude to them. So your only choice is like, oh yeah, right. You have to fake it, and that's that's lying. So then you're listening. Listening is either you can't bail. That's rude. And faking it is not rude, but you did lie, so you still feel bad later. So that's why they're like, oh, okay. It's just like it's horrible. I don't. So
that's so interesting. I just think this is really interesting, and yeah, that's kind of that's interesting that your perspective is a little bit different. I understand where you're coming from, and I understand your rationale. And I was in a more academic setting, I think, also. And that makes a difference, too, for what's prioritized and what's not. That's so interesting.
Yeah, you would be my enemy in the, if we were in the, I shit all over other teachers, like all day.
Not me.
Well, so a textbook, I mean, there's things like beginner, intermediate, expert, but it's all, it's not this consecutive or it's not this way. They have to put it in some kind of way because we read, right? Because time travels in one direction. But you all have to know sooner or later, like there's things that are real. This is an apple. There's things that are imaginary, like love is good, or tangible and intangible. There's things that are potential, like this happened and this could happen, and just realizing how there's even conditional past, and like, past is real. That's the past happened, so you can't change that. Well, you can still talk about what could have happened.
That's right. That's right. Unreal conditions in the past.
And so this is what, normal people don't even think about. Which is not their fault. But there's intentional joking about the conditional past. Like, boy, if only I had won that thing, I would not be a loser right now.
That's right.
Like, wait, really? No, I'm joking. Oh, wait, why would
you say you're joking? Then they think they don't have to listen anymore, right? Careful.
Yeah. So it's listening is a total. I think the Mount Everest.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's true. I mean, so when we were training students for like the TOEFL exam, which I think and the academic plane that's been sort of replaced by the TOEIC, as I understand it, although I'm out of the game now. But with the teachers that I worked with, they just said it's just a reading test. It's just really, that's all it is. Even the listening portion of the exam really judging how fast you can read all the different choices. It's not a valuable indicator at all. And also in the listening portions, nobody could ever take notes, which you recognize is absolutely essential and an academic skill. If that's what the test is entering you, if that's what the test is, the gateway for you to enter into the academic world, then you should be able to take notes.
Yeah, I do listening challenges, but a TOEIC test will just be unrelated, random people. What did Steve say to Tom?
Mm-hmm.
It's also annoying when they use other kind of less common names. Like, what did Marcine tell, Robin? And you're like, wait, what? He wants, and like, wait, who is he? Who? What?
Yeah, which one? Yeah,
the person's not familiar with it. Who is it? And so I did a funny one recently, a listening challenge where I always use real events from my own life so that they're at least interested a little bit in, because it happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of them I read to them recently. Where is it? Here it is. So it goes like this. It goes, you have one chance to listen. No, I'll say it 3 times. Slowly, slowly, a little bit faster, and then native speed. And there's no writing, just trust your ears. This is just, embrace the reality, embrace the truth of, your listening level.
Mm-hmm.
I said, many years ago, I went to a secondhand store near my house to buy an air conditioner because my new apartment didn't come with one. So that's a long sentence. I prepare them that, there can be because, another because, I went near my house. Why? To buy an air conditioner. Why? Because my new apartment didn't come with one. One what? Air conditioner. I don't want to say air conditioner like 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the different models, and a staff member approached me saying, "Looking for an aircon?" So I notice the voice changes when it's a character is going to say something. I said yes, and he said, "Nanjo desu ka?" I looked at him and said, "Nanjo? Only one. Me." He looked at me confused and said, "Eh?" And I said, "Huh?" Finally, he said, "Please wait here for a little bit." And I silently went out the exit.
A day in the life.
So they have to know that I joke like a lot in the lessons. And so I have to tell them like, yeah, I'm not asking you about what color shirt was the second guy, or what time did they actually get on a train. And so they have to the more, this is where some of the quieter ones, or the ones who aren't as like, sensei, I know, or it's really, the programmed
assertive
ones can understand like, oh, well, he's asking nanjo means how many tatami squares is your apartment, which is how they measure the square space of a apartment, which is jo. Is nanjo, how many jo? And I said, how many? It's only me. And this, of course, the staff doesn't know my name. He's like, what? And I said, what? Huh? And then and so one of them wanted to say, oh, so okay, you don't understand that Joe is another Joe, and he doesn't understand that you are a Joe too. and I'm like yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then I go, that's right, and then I say that's one way you could say it, or I say, yeah, he didn't understand that, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, or I would say, we misunderstood each other. And then their minds are blown, like, oh, that is a better way to say it, because what he said was totally confusing. So you always get to the correct version and then say, yeah, but I would say it in this shorter way.
We misunderstood each other, or we couldn't understand each other. Yeah. That's so funny. That is just a day in the life. And I would be lost too. Nanjo. I wouldn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
So I was teaching modals once. can, could, should, may, might, those kinds of things. And so I would give the students a list of modals showing on the board, and then I'd give them a situation and I tell them which modal to use. So I gave them a situation and I said, use may. George doesn't have any food in the refrigerator. Use may. And so this one student said, he may. I said, you can call me sensei.
Oh my God.
I thought that was good. He was shocked.
Oh man. Hime means a princess.
That's right.
So like, oh, I'm not a princess.
You don't have to call me princess in the classroom. It's okay.
Yeah, one thing that I do constantly is like lie to them and then just tell them I just lied. I lied to you. I'm a liar. And they're like baffled, like, oh, you can't, you're, why do you keep saying this not good thing?
Yes. Well, why do you keep lying? And why do you keep pointing it out? What's the point?
Sometimes you have to lie. And you have to lie in English. Like,
nice day, isn't it? How are you? Fine.
So yeah, like if you don't want to do something, if someone says to you, you don't want to be rude and you don't want to say no flat out, you say, oh, I'm busy.
You say, it's difficult. That's difficult.
Whip that out. Yeah, I was just saying, one student used an example of where she had gone to Canada or something, and like, she used to go to this coffee shop or something, and then finally the staff person was like, hey, tell me your phone number, tell me your Instagram number. And she's like, I had to say I lost my phone. And he said what, but do you want to tell me the number? And she said, I just said no thank you. and walked out. I was like, oh, that's a good lie. So you lied, but it was a not good enough lie, so you had to be a better liar.
Oh, great. We're headed for, Armageddon here with you in charge of the social interaction between Japan and the United States.
You have to lie. You must lie.
Well, you do have to lie because it's only polite to lie. I want to do this. Oh, it's difficult. That's what I would always get.
That's that's when children like, what did you break this?
It broke.
They don't want to say anything because it's a lose-lose, lie or be caught. So parents like, tell me, did you choose? Choose your path of destruction. Like I think a ghost.
Oh my God!
A ghost did it.
Cake.
Yeah, like now you're screwed up. Now I got you.
I got you now.
But in Japan, adults are like, I can choose the non-way. I don't have to lie. I don't have to be caught. Like, oh, that's okay. I won't put you through that. It's like, no, you have to go through that. You have to choose. Like, yeah, no other country does that.
No.
Anyway.
Sure, no other country does that.
So,
all right, in this book that you hated to even pick up, was there anything that was kind of interesting to you? Let's go that. Let's not try to. We already talked about the organizational plan. It's kind of got a day in the life, different meals. But did you find anything interesting?
I didn't hate it, and also I didn't even read it. I couldn't find a free version in the library online, and even the Kindle version was like $18. So I actually joined Audible for the trial, and it gives you one free book, and I got the audio version.
Oh, okay.
And so I listened to it, and I tried the speeding it up to see, and I was like still kind of getting what was going on, but at like 2x speed. And it kind of reminded me of an episode of Star Trek Next Generation where Data wants to learn how to small talk with people, and so he has to acting like a human. There's an admiral who's just like so boring, and nobody wants to talk to him. So So every time the admiral attaches himself to Picard or Riker, he goes, our commander Data actually grows his own radishes. You should ask him about that. And so, because Data wanted to practice small talking, so he kept getting foisted up, or kept getting the boring guy kept getting sent to him. So, also, yeah, I wrote a note like, yeah, I'm already into this. So, like, I teach how Greek words are the basis of lots of English words, or Latin words. I told them how the Greek or maybe Roman god Janus, he was the god of beginnings and endings, and so Janus, he had also two faces, one looking forward, one looking back, or whatever. And can you think of a word that uses that? Anyone? No one? Ever heard of January? And they're like, oh, why didn't I know that? I'm like, and I said, nobody knows that. Don't worry about it. Well,
I know it.
You knew that? Well, too late.
Of course I knew it. Well, you know that, and this is a particular interest of mine, the histories of words, and you know that Anglo-Saxon with the Norman conquest in 1066. I mean, I know that date, 1066. The Norman conquest occurred in Great Britain, and that is when all the influx of Latin root words came into English. Latin roots through French, right? And would
it not have been when the Romans conquered England before that?
It was it was not, because the Romans didn't stay; they left, and the Normans stayed, and they ruled. More importantly, they ruled, and so English vocabulary. The result is like 50% or more of the English words we use have a root in Latin via the Norman conquest.
Oh, did you know that via actually means road in the Latin word, which comes from the ancient Romans who had leads to Rome. All roads lead to Rome, and
yes, and named London. Yes, London. I know.
The name of this book is Romaine wasn't built in a day, and a day actually spelled with a D. Okay. Yeah, some of the stuff is interesting, right? I mean, the difference between beef and cow, and this is what I learned about this: that the cow, the names of the animals which were tended by the Anglo-Saxon peasants, and then served to the French in their cooked form. So cow becomes beef. Beef is a French word. Pig becomes pork, because pork is a French word. Sheep becomes mutton, or veal. Calf becomes veal. And I didn't know this. Deer becomes venison. I knew venison, but I didn't know that there was the same thing going on there. And so that was the difference, the class difference also between the Anglo-Saxon peasants who were conquered by the Norman French, who were the French. And this is why French is the diplomatic language, because it was the language of the aristocracy and the church and academics. I learned, the one thing I remember is that, the Caesar salad is not named after Caesar, but by a random guy in Mexico named Caesar, who made the Caesar salad.
That's always interesting.
Also, though, it's hard to know because so many of these things are like lore. So, this person wrote it, and, I'm sure she researched it a little bit, but who even knows who was the first one? Like, there was a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry went to war with a guy who was claiming that his uncle invented the Cobb salad because his name was whatever,
John Cobb,
Stephen Cobb. And Larry's like, oh, really? Your uncle? Is that right? And he just was so skeptical. He had to look it up. He's like, actually, it was created in Manhattan in 1932 by William Cobb. And they start wrestling over the derivation of Cobb's.
So then you admit it is a topic that is of interest to people, even Larry David. Okay.
Well, yeah, he was probably inspired to make that episode by a person who keeps commenting or, pontificating about, the word is this, and there's like, oh my god, how do I
How do I combat this?
how do I punch this guy? But in my show.
Didn't you find it interesting, all the words that are food related that are used in computer language?
Oh, well,
Chip.
like,
Bite, spam, menu. Didn't you think that was kind of interesting?
I thought that's just like, casual words people just throw around.
Server, feed, breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Also, there were words where I thought, like, is she just making this up? Because I've never heard of this. She's
never heard of breadcrumbs? I have.
No.
When we first were introduced to Blackboard, the online teaching, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
That's where I first learned the idea of breadcrumbs. I thought that was interesting.
What is breadcrumbs?
Breadcrumbs are, if you see the little carrot thing with the trail back to I see it on Google Docs all the time, Google Drive. If you open multiple things, then that's the trail back, and they're called breadcrumbs.
So when it collapses into
if you just like usually see it, you just sort of see it on the top of your screen, and it usually is represented with a carrot, sideways carrot between them, a greater than sign between them that shows you the trail, how you got there from to that to the next thing.
So that's one where I had never heard of that. And also I would say, I don't know if that's really a food reference.
Bread?
So, yeah, but it's more of a the fairy tale Hansel and Gretel reference. But it's food related. To.
Yeah, but it's food related. So here's something that I found interesting, is Dick and I discussed this once before in the past. He told me. So you know that butt, B-U-T-T, is the name of a large wooden container for alcohol, usually.
That's another one. I never heard of that. Another one.
Yeah, well, you probably didn't read a lot of Victorian literature. But bottle comes from that. And there's a slew of words, like dribble comes from drip. And the suggestion into the larger word dribble is that it's smaller and quicker, so that a drip you perceive as rather slow, but dribble is faster and smaller increments, sort of thing. And the same is true for nip and nibble, and the P becomes a B sound because it's in the interior of the word. Sniff and sniffle, gob and gobble, grab and grapple. Do you think that's interesting?
Wait,
mud and muddle.
The ol makes it become the verb version?
No, the drip is a verb. And dribble is maybe becomes the noun version, maybe. Nibble, sniffle. Yeah, becomes a noun version, but the meaning subtly changes, kind of. There's a hint that the idea is smaller and faster.
Oh, okay. Grab and grapple.
Yeah. Because B and P, they sort of interchangeable depending on where they are in a word. Jig.
I can see that. Yeah, like
and jiggle.
Diminutive one.
Mm-hmm. We talked about Dick pointed this out to me with the drip and dribble, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And then we came across a few more, so that made me think of more.
Speaking of Uncle Dick, maybe you should wrangle him to get on the next podcast.
Well, he's pretty incommunicado, so I doubt that he's. And I think that, Camelot is closing on the 23rd, but he's kind of, he's sort of in his own.
All right, I will handle it then.
Okay, you handle it.
I'll wrangle it. All right, maybe
And
I'll
the
cut-
only
I'll-
other thing that the only other thing about this book that I found kind of interesting, because now that I know the reason why you went off on what the purpose of the book is, that in fact you didn't read it. That's why I was wondering why we went off on some
I
tangent.
did. I listened to. I didn't finish the dinner one, but I like was hearing it. I was like, yep, this is all things I feel like I could have Googled separately. Did
Yeah,
you-
she just put it all in one volume for your convenience.
Yeah, it was like, it was like reading a dictionary in sentences. Like, did you know
Mhm.
Parmesans from Parma, and what most cheeses are from the place, and yeah, wine is from the place.
Mhm.
You got either place foods
Or name foods.
or it's
yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
also it was also funny how I thought that as she's like, okay, this is getting kind of boring. So did you know that this means like fart, and that this means a penis, and this is a testicle?
Oh my
Like,
God,
yeah.
I don't even remember
like,
that part at all.
What?
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
Oh, it's so many. It's just like oh, they're fading fast. It's almost like a stand-up comedian who's like, oh, I'm losing them. I gotta.
Oh, I have
I
to
gotta-
punch it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, it's just I was seeing the marketing or the editor being like, it's a little bit too wordy. You gotta make it more. You gotta punch it up.
I know.
You gotta.
I know it's a book about words, but it's a little bit too wordy, if you get my meaning.
Yeah, you kind of you gotta throw in some I don't even know. Some
I don't even know the words. It's a book about words. We don't know the
some-
words.
MSG or
Spice it up a little bit.
yeah.
I found it interesting that
That's
her
exactly
final
it. Spice it
chapters.
up.
This is a later chapter that you didn't get to, I guess, was that we have so many food metaphors, that we use food for a lot of metaphors. And she had this page, a graphic on this page, and I'll find it and I'll hold it up for you to see. With all these metaphors that she put them in little pieces of pie. So there are things like Adam's apple, the apple of my eye, or phrases like cooking the books or cherry picking the evidence, or somebody is full of beans, or that's an idea that's half baked. We use food related metaphors a great deal. And the only other example of metaphors that I think maybe as common are maybe sports metaphors, hitting a home run or getting to second base, not to spice things up too far, but I don't want everybody to relax here, but that kind of thing.
Had you ever heard of that, full of beans?
Yeah, of course.
I went to war with a student.
Unlike you, like to read, so I've heard almost all of these.
A student
There were some things that were unfamiliar.
Wrote that in a homework, and I was like, I've never heard of this in my life. I think maybe you mean full of like this might be like a childified verb, not full of shit or something. And she's like, no,
probably more like full of piss and vinegar. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, and that means like a angry person or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
so what does full of beans mean? I've never used it.
Someone like full of energy, or they're like eager. I said, no. She said to me, she's like, you should ask someone, like in front of the class, and everyone was like, and I said, I will ask.
Okay, tell them you asked your mom.
And then, no. Then I asked my English friend. She said, yep, I say that my kids are full of beans. And I come back next week. I'm like, well, last week I was schooled by Akiko here, and she's right. I did not know that. So I will from now on. Yep. So she's like, no. So of course I'm embarrassing her by her embarrassing me, which is meta is the word, maybe, again, to bring back meta.
Oh God, bringing it full circle. Thank God.
So that was a controversy. Well, she shamed me, and I accepted the shame publicly. But to shame your teacher is also shameful. Maybe
that's true.
It's more shameful.
More shameful. My God, yes.
But I was
that's very true.
I was playing into the shame, which is humorous to me.
We're embracing the shame.
Some of them got it.
Anyway, I found it light reading. I found it entertaining. I'll probably never pick it up again. I'm going to put it out in my little library outside my front door, out on the sidewalk, I should say, and then somebody else can enjoy it because it's kind of cute.
Yeah, I don't.
That's all.
But like $18, I was like, man, I should write a book. Like,
This was
people should-
26. The hardback
what?
was 26.
Oh, right. I was talking about. Oh, yeah. What the?
Because they were doing Kindle. Yeah.
How the hell? How many pages is it?
And it's sold out. By the way, I had to order it at my local bookstore because it was sold out. Including the index, 226.
Oh my God, that's
Total ripoff.
Wow, I don't know.
Sticker shock. You're getting old, Joe.
Hmm.
Anyway, next time, which will probably be at the end of August.
Yep.
You're selecting the next book, Joe. Take it away.
It's that Dickens one. I already forgot what's the name of it.
You haven't started it. Our Mutual Friend.
Oh, okay. Our Mutual Friend. Dickens book. I never read it or heard of it until recently.
It was his last full book.
Oh yeah. And that's gonna do it. We made it through, and I have no closing words.
You don't have to have any. You can just say sayonara.
All right. Good night, everyone.
When the stars make you drool, just like a pasta fazool, that's amore. When you dance down the street with a cloud at your feet, you're in love. When you walk in a dream, but you know you're not dreaming, signore. Scusa me, but you see, back in old Napoli, that's amore.